Greetings from the Long Island Sound podcast. Welcome to the show. Please rate, review, and comment on the show, and call our listener line and leave a message for our guest. Dial 631-800-3579. All right, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Long Island Sound podcast, where we explore the muse and music from the North Shore to the South Shore, from New York City to the Hamptons, on the island of Long here in New York. I'm Steve Yusko from gigdestiny.com. Stay tuned as we explore the Long Island Sound.
Hi, I'm Andy Cooney, and you're listening to the Long Island Sound podcast with Steve Yusko. Enjoy.
If you ever go across the sea to Ireland, then maybe at the closing of your day, you will sit and watch the moon rise over Lana and see the sun go down on Galway Bay.
Hi, everybody. This is Steve Yusko from gigdestiny.com, your host for Long Island Sound. And let me tell you, it is a special day today, especially with St. Paddy's Day coming up. I have a special guest. He's known as really an ambassador between the Irish culture, in my opinion. I'm not Irish. I'm married to an Irish gal, and we romanticize us non-Irish about being Irish, especially in the month of March. He's got, 19 albums to his name, a new one coming out. And I happened to be driving by Babylon Village and saw that he has an upcoming show. And I checked with a friend of mine, Mike Nugent, who said, "Yeah, I think I can get in contact with him," and he shared his contact information. And I want to welcome to the podcast Mr. Andy Cooney. Welcome, Andy.
Hi, Steve. It's great to be with you.
Oh man, I tell you, it's I'm kind of a little fandom here because I've seen you play. I've been to Carney's in Pete's place in Amityville. I saw your show there. And I'm telling you, my mother-in-law is going to die when she realizes I did a podcast with the famous Andy Cooney. So.
That's it. It's the mother-in-laws and the mommies that love me.
It's a great thing. So, the theme of this podcast is the Long Island Sound, and you certainly contribute to the Long Island Sound, even though you're an international guy. You've been everywhere. You have a travel program that friends of mine have gone on and rave about. And I'm just not blowing smoke up, your kilt, so to speak, but it's very interesting the way you go about it.
Yeah, it's been Steve, it's been kind of a journey, and especially Long Island, which is what you like to focus on with your show, all these things going on. And I came up in the 80s in the Irish music scene. There were loads of Irish places here on Long Island. Mm-hmm. And Katie Daly's, you had the Stack of Barley, you had the Whistling Gypsy.
Oh, wow.
Jolly Tinker. There was lots of places, and they all had bands.
Right.
So I came up in that scene, and also working in the Bronx and Brooklyn and Manhattan. So it was a great scene at that time, a great live music scene. And before all the rules came in, the heavy drinking and driving laws and drinking ages came down and stuff like that. So it was a very healthy scene at the time, and people really came out for the music. And I came up in that scene.
And what's interesting about, you can't help but bump into an Irish pub, I think, in every town on Long Island, which is great. And, from my experiences as an outsider, let's so to speak, there's always songs tied to a pub and a great romanticism about the culture and the music of the Irish people and being so welcoming. And it's really kind of neat that a guy from Long Island is that bridge to the culture to keep things alive. I'm sure people have told you that.
You know what? It's kind of been a full circle career for me. My grandfather came from Ireland,
Okay.
and my grandmother, and my grandfather was an Irish tenor,
Oh,
and we had him most of our lives. He lived well into his 80s,
God bless him.
so we'd get up and sing at every party, and I kind of took to it and took to the music, and before I knew it, I started out doing gigs in pubs, and then I was discovered by a guy named Paddy Noonan, who
Hmm.
was very well known at that time, between the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, and toured all over the United States and Canada, and somewhat in Europe as well.
Wow.
And I went on the road with him. He owned a record company. I started doing some recording, got into a bit of songwriting, and before you know it, I was full blown in the Irish music scene. And
It's amazing. It's an amazing niche, and
Mhm.
that's actually one of the questions I ask musicians. Their influences. So you had your grandfather. Were your parents musical, siblings, that sort of thing?
No, my mom was a big fan of Irish music, and
Mhm.
Irish music was playing in our house all the time growing up. And you also had radio programs, WFUV and Fordham
Sure.
University. Their show's been going for over 50 years. The Keogh and Gale, and that was on in the house, of course, every I guess Sunday.
Hmm.
That's when that's on, and then there were other couple of Irish shows, and the music was always in the house. So I was inspired to start recording, and I started doing this with Paddy Noonan, and we had a couple of big successful records, and before I knew it, I was knee deep in it. So
Now, did this come after high school? I mean, I don't know where you grew up. I
yeah,
apologize.
pretty much. I was about 18 when I started playing. I started out as a piano player in Manhattan.
Okay.
My mother's friend, Marie Lonergan was her name, and her cousin was the owner of about 5 big Irish places in New York City.
Wow.
And one of them was called Kennedy's on 2nd Avenue
Hmm.
and 52nd Street. And they were at the owner, Jerry Toner, to come on, give wee Barbara's son a wee shot. Come on, Jerry. Come on, Jerry.
All right.
You know,
No one
so
could resist that kind of
yeah,
pressure.
so he did. He hired me, and I was not very good, Steve. I was awful at that age. I pretty much as a piano player was very limited at the time, and I just really farted my way through the whole thing. And I would play the songs I knew, then I would mess around and play chords and make it sound like a song, and then another song would come into my head. But I took requests, and I learned. I went home and I learned these songs. And before I knew it, I was in the music business. I had a repertoire over probably a 4 to 6 month period doing that gig.
Wow.
And it's just kind of how it started. And I would sing a song here and there, but more it was a piano gig. And then I went on from there. I went with a 2-piece act called the Celtic Connection, and they were working a lot of the Irish places on Long Island,
Hmm.
like Katie Daly's and the Irish Coffee Pub, which is now an Islip, but it used
Oh,
to
sure.
be.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, so I started working with that band, and before I knew it, we're a small scene here. We're a big scene, but a small scene at the same time, and people heard about me, this young kid on the road, and that's kind of when I got gobbled up by the Paddy Noonan show,
Right.
and then pretty much then my profile, of course, went way up, being with that show and
Well,
doing
you know
all
what's
those recordings back then.
what I find interesting, especially when you're in a particular niche, uh, how fruitful things can be for you in hindsight, I guess, as we're looking
Mm.
back. But one of the things that really I find very interesting when you say, "Oh, I was lousy, I wasn't that good," So I appreciate that. But you learn your chops when you're playing live, and I'll say this because I've seen you. Is
You're right. You're exactly right. I was thrown right in at the deep end, and I just had to I had to do it.
Yeah, but you're something different. There in my book, there are musicians, there are people who are very accomplished musicians, and there are entertainers who happen to be musicians. And you're one of those guys. You're one of those guys that makes that connection to the audience that you must see it on their faces, when you got them. You got them in your hands and you're rolling from one point to
Well,
another.
as a performer, that is the performer in me, is that you keep working until you get them. I
Right.
don't. I never give up, and when I walk into a room, I'm among friends, and so that's my attitude when I walk in. I really never go in with the attitude that how can I win them over. I guess
Mm.
I did when I was very young, but right now, after years in the business, I just walk into a room and I just feel that uh, we're just here to have a good time, you know?
Yeah, and you notice if you know yourself and you're authentic, uh, even through foibles and everything else, the
Mm.
people get it and they enjoy that because they're your cheerleaders and they're there to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
And
it's
it becomes magical, you know. So I mean, do you still play the keyboards or the piano in your current shows or
I do from time to time.
Mm,
I'm getting ready to go on the road in March. I'm going to be out for about 2 weeks, and
wow.
but I will have a band behind me and
Mhm.
musicians behind me. We have a comedian on the road with us, actually, an Irish comedian that lives on Long Island. He's fabulous. His name is Mick Thomas.
Okay, Mick
He'll
Thomas.
be out with us. A young guy, probably in his late 30s, and very, very funny guy from Ireland. He's working in the banking business on Long Island, trying to crack it as a comedian. You know, he's done all the comedy clubs and everything. So he'll be with us. I have Irish dancers. And I also have a female singer from Ireland coming over. So with those shows, I'll be out front. We have a band, and we'll do theaters, performing arts centers.
Hmm.
We have one show on Long Island, and that's going to be March the 12th.
Right.
And that's going to be at the Argyle Theater in Babylon.
Yeah,
The
great new
beautiful,
theater, by the way. For those who don't know,
yeah,
it's a father and son team that bought it several years ago and done off-Broadway type of shows. So it was really good to see. I mean, the timing's great, right? You know, right
yeah, no, it
before.
is, and they really are amazing. A great team, father and son team, that took that on, and just when they got the thing up and running and going, COVID hit
Right.
and shut them down for 2 years. So they're amazing. They're back up and running again, and toughing it out, and I'm looking forward. The show is doing well. There are tickets still available,
Great.
and definitely check a very cozy theater. You know, not a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, it's a beautiful venue. So let me ask you this: you touched on COVID, and it's been a difficult time for everyone,
Oh
but
yeah,
especially for musicians and entertainers. You know, people are getting creative in a couple of different ways in the way they bring their art online, in the way that they've had time to smell the roses and contemplate. And I think you've been pretty productive as well, right, during COVID.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of like March kicked in, and halfway through March, we were all shut down. We were in the middle of a concert tour, and
Wow.
came home, and about 4 weeks later, lying in bed there at 10:30, my wife says, "You're going to get up?" And I said, "For what? I have
Mm,
nobody to call. There's no gigs to hustle or create."
sure.
I said, "I feel like I'm retired,"
Wow. Yeah.
and
You're
it
too
was
too young.
yeah. So it was like that, and another month went by. You know, I just didn't know what to do with myself. And then I saw some of my friends doing these Facebook lives and whatever. So I said, all right, I'll try that.
Hmm.
I could not believe when I did my Facebook live. It was something over the hour, over 30,000 people
Oh
tuned
my
in
God.
over the hour. It was I ended up doing 3 of them, and I
Hmm.
really, really enjoyed it. I could not believe that here I am playing my piano in the living room in front of
Right.
my iPhone, and there were thousands of people out there. You know, it was just a very strange feeling.
Oh, I know. And you know, the other strange thing is you're singing to an iPhone or a camera. Maybe you had a couple other people in the room with you, but that's a different dynamic that you have
Oh,
to. How do
they
you
were
feed
coming
off
to me,
that?
and they were coming to me, Daddy, Dad, my kids, Dad, you have 1,400 eyeballs looking at you. I'm like, what? Oh my God! So it's just it was amazing, and these are the things that were good about, you know. I mean, good things come out of bad situations. So
Agreed. Agreed.
that was something. And then also I got back into songwriting. I ended up releasing 6 singles in Ireland and the UK
Oh, nice.
during that time, and most of my recordings now are played in Ireland and the UK.
Wow.
There are some radio programs, not anymore, not like they used to be
Hmm.
in the States. You still have WFUV and whatever, but there used to be a load of stations, and not too many around anymore. So whenever I put out music, it's usually for the Irish market or the UK market, and I get to Ireland a few times a year to do some gigs and do some shows. So I've kind of come full circle, if you will. in the business, especially going to Ireland. And I've got a brand new album that just came out. It's coming out Friday,
Okay.
March 4th. I'm not sure when you're going to air this podcast.
Well, we're gonna air it right after March 4th because I'm gonna edit this and put it out there because the timing's right.
All right, so I'll just say that we have a brand new album coming out.
Great.
We have a brand new album that just came out, and we're very excited about it. And it's called "Take Her in Your Arms." Recorded in Ireland. My producer Jonathan Owens. We've had some great success together. Me and my producer in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
#1 records, and the country music scene over there. They call it the country and Irish scene.
Oh, interesting.
The country and Western scene. This is the country and Irish scene, which is very popular in Ireland and the UK. So
nice, very good.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what. Why don't we just take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to listen to one of those original songs from Andy, and we'll have him introduce it. We'll be right back. Stick with us. And now a word from our friends at Belfast Gastropub.
Hi, my name is Dave Crow, proprietor of Belfast Gastropub in beautiful downtown Lindenhurst. We are the heartbeat of the village, serving exceptional dishes throughout the day, created by our executive chef, James Tomlinson. Whether it's to dine in our purpose-built outdoor dining area that seats 60 persons, or to enjoy a pint or a cocktail at our 40-foot mahogany bar. We also have a private catering room that can accommodate up to 60 guests. Love stories begin at Belfast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Steve Yusko with Gig Destiny, and I'm with Andy Cooney. And Andy, we're going to do one of your original songs. So if you can tell us a little bit behind the scenes so we can peel back the onion on the song, and then we'll give a treat to our audience.
All right. I think the track you're going to play, Steve, is On the Eighth Day. And I'll tell you a little bit about this particular song. As I was telling you, in Ireland, country music is pretty popular, but they have their own brand of country music, country and Irish. So it's country music with a bit of an Irish twist to it, if you will. But this is a song that I had written back in the early 90s, and I was knocking on doors in Nashville at that time as a songwriter. And this song got shopped around Nashville. I was writing for Gatlin Brothers Music, Larry Gatlin. Sure. And that's when I first met Larry, and he kind of took me under his wing at that time. And we had a relationship for about 5 years, doing a bit of writing for his company. And so anyway, Alan Jackson actually held the song for about 6 months. And we were all like, my God, if he cuts it, we'll all be sitting in a bit of they call mailbox money, they call it. You go out to the mailbox and there's a check, Yeah,
the nice surprises that come in from residuals.
Yeah. So actually, he held it, but he didn't cut it, and it sat there for many, many years. About 20 years it sat there, and until this country album came along. I had always liked the scene in Ireland, the country music scene, but I really wasn't in it because I was in the Irish music scene here. And the Irish music that they play out here, they don't really play in Ireland. So I said, the hell with it. I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. I know a lot of the DJs there. And so I connected with the record company there, and I told them what I was going to do. And that was that. They said, go ahead, Andy. We'll pop it out and see what happens with it. We'll give it, the full treatment. It'll be a full release.
It's a big deal. Yeah, it's not easy.
Yes, we did everything. We did a video. We did the video was really cool on YouTube. And I connected with there's another writer on the song, John Alexander, who I met through Larry Gatlin and through writing down there. And also I brought in Jimmy Kelly, who he's my drummer. He's been doing a lot of writing in Nashville. He writes with a lot of the top writers down there at the moment. So we kind of brought the song up to date and put it out there. And we had a #1 record. It was great. It's a very catchy tune. And I like to preface with the song that it took the Lord 6 days to create the world. He rested on the 7th day, and this is what happened on the 8th day.
Very good. So let's listen to the song, and we'll be right back. So hang on. Check it out.
It took the Lord just 6 days to make the mountains, the oceans and the rivers, the valleys and the hills. And life on earth began there was more to the plan. He took the seventh day just to rest, and then on the eighth day God created music. He put the leaves in the breeze and made a ringing tambourine, and he gave the wind a song, and the birds they sang along, and the world joined in perfect harmony. It didn't take too long to spread throughout the land. Samson and Delilah were the first to clap their hands. And would you believe there was Adam and Eve? They were swaying underneath an apple tree. On the eighth day God created music. He put the leaves in the breeze and made a ringing tambourine, and he gave the wind a song, and the birds they sang along, and the world joined in perfect harmony. So when your spirits are down, just take a look around and listen to the good Lord's melody. On the eighth day God created music. He put the leaves in the breeze and made a ringing tambourine, and he gave the wind a song, and the birds they sang along, and the world joined in perfect harmony. On the eighth day God created music. He put the leaves in the breeze and made a ringing tambourine, and he gave the wind a song, and the birds they sang along, and the world joined in perfect harmony, and the world joined in perfect harmony.
Well, Andy, that was really a great song. It's just very upbeat, very enjoyable. And I think it's one of those songs, especially in these times, people looking for hope and joy and fun. And that's a fun song.
It's a fun tune, and I actually wrote. We actually have another verse. Actually, myself and John Alexander, the original two writers of the song. We never recorded it because, number one, the song would have been too long for radio to record another verse. But I do it in the show live, and I'll say to the audience, would you like to know what happened on the ninth day?
Great.
So it goes like this. The ninth day goes, on the ninth day when everybody heard the greatest band in the whole wide world. And I try to get the people to clap for us. Thank God made the cities and the country towns and millions of folks to hear the sound. And then on the eighth day, God created music. Yeah, so
great stuff.
Yeah, so
so tell me,
that was a fun tune.
Tell me about the collaborative effort, because I find it very interesting. I talk to a lot of musicians because I'm really curious. Some guys are lone rangers, in the way they approach it. Some guys are, hey, I'm the melody guy and I work with a lyricist. My friend Mike Nugent, who has been working for a guy who lives in Colombia now for decades, and they just have a nice marriage to make music. So how did the collaboration come?
That particular song, I had been sitting with that idea. We've heard I've heard different ideas for on the eighth day. God created, like you said, the Irish or
right,
whatever. I had been thinking. I thought music was a perfect thing that God possibly would have done on the eighth day.
Sure.
So I knew I had a great idea. I had a few lines. And I had met John Alexander through Larry Gatlin. He's a writer. Also worked for Reader's Digest at the time. And they were putting out a whole Gatlin Brothers package for Reader's Digest, and that's how I kind of met him through that. He lives in Brooklyn, New York, but writes a lot of country. And so we got together. I brought that idea to him, and then we sat down and we just started writing. And the words started coming out,
Yeah, sometimes it just flows, right?
It does. I mean, actually, myself and Larry Gatlin wrote a song, and it's on the new album. It's called Come Tennessee Me Tonight.
Oh, yes. Is that the one that you did a video with
He did a video with Larry.
Right. Very clever.
I was doing the Larry invited me on the Grand Ole Opry with him.
Oh, nice.
So we did the Opry, and I was staying at Larry's that night. So on the way home, I'm just saying, hey, Larry, anybody ever write anything like Come Tennessee Me Tonight? I'm just playing around with words. He goes, hell, I don't think so, but we're going to write it tonight. We wrote that song, Come Tennessee Me Tonight. We probably wrote that song in 30 minutes.
Oh, I hate you.
It was just, and Larry just started with the guitar. If you feel like you've worn out, you're welcome in Texas. Come Tennessee me tonight. And then he came up with another line that didn't make it in the song. If you think that you want to know, you girls want to know what good sex is, come Tennessee me tonight. We had so many bloody lines to that tune. We threw out, I would say 50 lines and had to settle for, whatever the
final version was.
We picked.
but that's the way to do it. It's like creative writing. You don't edit till the end. You start every idea, throw it against the wall, spitball it, get it out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gatlin's great to do that with.
Is he? Yeah.
He is a fabulous writer, and he was a kind of a, like you said, a lone writer for many years. Like him writing with people. This is just only something he started doing.
It's interesting.
So I think it's because we have a great friendship, and we just, we weren't. I'm definitely not going to try to top Larry Gatlin when I'm writing a song or whatever. So we had great mutual respect for each other, and we just started spitballing and throwing stuff out there, and.
Just being in the company of these accomplished people is interesting. And I'll say this about you, and you were talking about your shows and who you have involved with it. And I tell you, it's taking that idea of being collaborative and now paying it forward to the people that you're bringing up with you, the young musicians who are getting a start, or the comedian in your show. I know it fills out a show, but a lot of people don't always share the stage when they're on the stage. And I think that's really important, on how you approach that,
No, well, thank you. And also, this particular show is the Irish Cabaret.
Okay.
And cabaret is variety. So,
sure.
So that's kind of what the show that we sold for this March.
All right. So you were forced into it then.
You know what? I have to be honest with you, Steve.
Yeah.
I love working with people. I really do. Working with different people. Some artists like to be out there on stage the whole time. I'll be honest with you. I don't like breaking my what out there. I like to go out there, have fun. I have no problem with somebody coming out and doing something, and then I come back on and do a few things. I mean, that's me anyway.
That's great. One of the guests. So I got connected to Andy through my guitar teacher, Mike Nugent, and Mike is just a wonderful musician and a producer, and it's just a great old.
We got to do a gig together one of these days, me and Mike.
Oh, absolutely. But I remember he was telling me about a cruise that you went on, and Shannon. He was playing along with Shannon Breeze at that time.
That's right. That's right.
And you had that cruise. Tell me about that cruise. Have you done many of those? And let's talk about your travels.
The cruise that they all came on is a cruise I just came off. And it's called the Cruise of Irish Stars, and I put it together in 1998. Mm-hmm. That was the first one, and we brought a few hundred people on that cruise, and it's grown to as high as 1,700.
Nice. And what cruise line was that, Andy?
We were on Princess.
Oh, good. Great line. Great line.
So with COVID and everything, and it left January the 29th. So about a month before then, if you might remember, that the CDC kind of put the cruise line thing out there saying it was unsafe, where I don't agree. I have my own opinion about that, because you had to be tested going onto the ship, within 48 hours, and every crew member is tested every 2 days.
Wow.
And you wouldn't believe how immaculate the ship was. And we had no cases of COVID.
Oh, that's great.
Thank God. But what it did, we had about 700 people booked, and like an avalanche, people were canceling. So we ended up with 400. So I was happy enough that the cruise actually happened and didn't cancel. And it's booking like crazy for next year. We're already over 500 people.
Well, I think there's that backlog of, hey, look, I want to go on vacation too. It's just.
And what's cool about the cruise is that, again, I involved myself with a lot of entertainers. Ronan Tynan, the Irish tenor.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Ronan comes with us. We're best of pals, me and Ronan.
Oh, nice.
And then I have about maybe 10 or 12 bands, Irish bands that come. And people have a great time. It's a full music package for them. It's people come from all over the country that love Irish music.
That's great. I'm thinking about the as a young man, the different vacations that I've gone on. I've gone on with friends that I might not, and they probably say the same thing about me. I don't know if I like the same vacation that Steve does, and so on and so forth. But when you get on a cruise with people, everyone who generally goes on a cruise, if it's not their first one, likes it. And for you as an artist, you're developing this community of like-minded people who enjoy what you're presenting.
Oh yeah, and they come year after year. We are like a family on board, and people so look forward to coming back year after year. I've been doing this cruise for, I guess, 23, 24 years.
Wow.
24, 24 years anyway. This was my 24th.
Mm-hmm.
So people might not come this year or next year. Maybe they were on it 5 years ago and they give it a break and they come back,
Right.
So, and they just pick up where they left off, and we all celebrate together. We all have a good time. The entertainers I bring, especially Ronan, so great with the people.
Nice. Right.
His office is in the casino, so he announces on stage, if you want to come see me, come to my office. I'm usually at the blackjack table,
and I'm sure the cruise line loves that for sure.
Oh yeah, so we just have a great time. We
nice.
Really do.
So you also do trips to Ireland as well. You said you get there several times a year. Do you do multiple tours, I guess, with guests, or how do you approach that?
Well, basically, I go to Ireland on a couple of capacities. I'll go over to perform.
Mm-hmm.
We might set up a week or two of dates, but I also run a trip to Ireland. So I'm going in May, and I'm also going in October. So Larry Gatlin was to be with me in May, and we're doing Ireland and Liverpool. He has his new contract from the Grand Ole Opry, and he's not able to.
Oh, too bad.
No, he's not able to get out of it to come. So that's all right. Everybody's still coming, thank God. Right. And then we're going again in October. And that's starting to buck up. So Ireland is open for business finally. So they're just starting to, things are really starting to pick up over there now.
That's good to know. Yeah. So tell me, in looking at your bio, and you've been in Carnegie Hall like at least 9 times or so. Tell me about some of the more memorable places, good and bad, as far as where you've gigged.
Oh God, people will ask me, some of my favorite places where I played, and I just have to say it's wherever I've spent the most time.
Mm.
I have a special place that I perform in once or twice a year, and that's Pinehurst, North Carolina.
Okay.
And for some reason, it's just a community that we've taken to each other.
Oh, okay.
And I also have a group called the New York Tenors.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
So we were down in Pinehurst doing that. I've been down, singing at different events, PGA events. They'll bring me in.
Mm.
I made a lot of great friends down there. I also play golf, so
Oh, well, yeah, just so happens to work out for you.
So it works out pretty well. I'll be there again. I was just there in December with the New York Tenors. I was back there in June with the New York Tenors, and now I'm back there again with the Irish Cabaret in the beautiful Carolina Hotel. Beautiful 5-star hotel. We'll be there with the Cabaret.
Nice.
on March 10th.
So are you pretty much back and forth between Ireland and the UK? And have you gone across the country with your music, or do you stick to the East Coast? And
No, I mean it is basically the East Coast and the Eastern Seaboard, if you will. Florida is a big market for me, as you can imagine, with
sure
all the retired folks down there from from New York, Detroit, Cleveland, and
Canada, yeah.
Boston, Canada, yeah. So Florida's a great market for me. Used to get out to California a few times. Just haven't been out there in a while. I've been out there with the New York Tenors. New York Tenors is kind of a show that has, it's not an Irish show. So we celebrate New York. We sing songs of Broadway, opera.
Right. And you celebrate diversity, which is what I really like about it.
Yeah, we have Daniel Rodriquez, the singing cop from 9/11. Christopher Macchio, who's a powerful Italian tenor. He's actually Donald Trump's favorite tenor. And Donald flies him in whenever he can. In fact, the last time he sang for Donald was at the RNC. He had him. He sang at the balcony of the White House. He sang the Ave Maria.
Wow.
So he's quite a powerful talent, Chris.
How long have you been doing the New York Tenors? How long is
New York Tenors? I've been doing New York Tenors, I would say, for about 12 years.
Wow. Okay, great.
10, 12 years. So that was a new thing for me because as you heard my voice on the eighth day, I don't sound exactly like a tenor on that. But when I started singing with those guys, I got an opera coach.
Oh, okay, sure.
And I said, I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
These guys are, as I used to tell them, listen, you guys can sing me under the table, but I can break you under the table.
Hey, well, you know what? A true artist is always going to hone his craft, and you're venturing off into something is pretty scary.
It was, but you know what? I went to my coach, and I said, I don't know, I guess I'm a baritone,
Mm-hmm.
So he starts bringing me up the scale, and he says, no, he says, you're a tenor.
Oh, wow.
He says, you have this extra gear that kicks in. He says that I don't have because he says, I'm a baritone.
Wow. Okay.
So I was a tenor. And then I furthered my studies. Who the guy that really brought me along was a coach from Freeport, Long Island, named Michael Krause.
Okay.
And he prepared me for my first Carnegie Hall. I sang with a symphony. And then when the New York Tenors came along, he really got my voice in gear. And I got to learn really how the voice works.
Nice.
And how to generate power. And I have a Christmas album. I'll have to get you a couple of tracks, Steve, and you'll be able to hear me. I sing a Deste and I catch the high C at the end. Oh,
nice.
Yeah. So, that's the tenor's big note is to get the high C.
Sure.
So he got me there. I couldn't hit one for you now, but.
So, yeah, I'm not going to put you on the spot or, I can cut in a digital C later to make everything look good. But, what I really appreciate in doing my little homework on you is the community that you've surrounded yourself with. One with the traveling and the cruises and the niche of country Irish music in the UK and what you do here in the United States. But what I also was surprised is that you're a podcaster as well.
Yes, that's another thing that happened during the pandemic. My wife was like, "Do something. I don't want to talk to you anymore."
Right. We're getting too close. Yeah, my Irish wife says that all the time.
So what happened was, I'll be honest with you. What happened was a friend of mine up at WHLI, Stu Schrager up there. Mm-hmm. We had talked about doing a radio program for a while, and he said, "Well, why don't you?" Can you do like a sample show? This way I can let our higher ups, see what they think. And so I said, okay. So I kind of, I had a little thing that you could plug a microphone in and then you can plug it into your computer.
Sure.
A little interface thing that I had.
Yeah, a little preamp. Yep.
Yeah, a little preamp. Exactly. It was made by Personas. I had bought it years ago. Mm-hmm. But I'm terrible for buying stuff like that. I buy it, I set it up, and then I learned how to record one track, and then I put it. Then I don't come back to it until about 5 years later.
All right, I'll do some shoplifting at your house. Just invite me over. I'll clear the dust off stuff for you.
So that was that. Somebody said, and then a friend of mine said, "Well, try to download this Audacity. That will be easy to work with." So basically, I on the fly, I just figured it out, and I put a show together, and I sent it to them. He really liked it. But then, of course, in the music business, you don't hear from people anymore.
Right. Hurry up and wait. Thank you very much. And we'll call you someday.
Hey,
thank you very much.
So I sat there with it and I let a few people hear it. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you put it up on a podcast?" I said, "Well, I've heard of podcasts, but what the hell is that?"
Yeah, right.
It's really like it's a radio program that people can hear at any time they want. They just click. They can follow you, and you. So I did. I popped it up there, and the first episode got something like 3,000 downloads.
Right. Well, the name helps.
Yeah, I mean, so I did. I threw it out there, and I think we're somewhere. I did the entire season, and I think we're about 300,000 downloads.
Good for you.
Overall for 25 shows. I just started season 2, but now that I'm starting to get busy, I hope I can keep it going.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's the consistent. What I learned is the consistency about it. We both use Buzzsprout, which is a great RSS feed. Put a little plug in for them.
Yes. BuzzFeed. Exactly. Buzzsprout.
BuzzFeed. Right. Sproutcast.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I'll tell you, it was, and the consistency, that was one thing, because I did some homework on it, and they said the only way, you have to be consistent. So I did 25 episodes. I was pretty religious to it every 10 days, and I got it out there. So now I'll try again. I'm going on the road, of course, this weekend. So I'll be out for 2 weeks. So I'll have another show ready to go.
Right, but this is it's something you can do. You can do while you're on the road as well. What I found, what I find kind of magical about it is, I hop from one person to the next. I'll have somebody. Oh, you got to have this guy. You got to have this guy. Give me the names. We'll reach out to them, and they're my Johnny Appleseeds out there saying, "Oh, I had a fun time with Steve." And you know what? If you want to get your music out there, a podcast is a really unique way to do it, because you get lost in the shuffle. You can, for the up and comers.
Well, what I did with this podcast, which was kind of cool, and you see, they have Irish music programs here, as I told you, not as many as they used to, but they're still playing a lot of the old stuff that came out 20, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm in the scene in Ireland and the UK, and I know the new stuff that's out there in the country scene and the new Irish music coming out. Some of the really good stuff that's not getting played out here. So actually, it's been an avenue, and I'm hearing from all kinds of my friends in Ireland and the UK. They're so delighted to get their music played out here.
Nice.
So I'm able to introduce a lot of new Irish music, new artists, and it's been great,
So what I recognize is I'm an oracle, because I called you the ambassador and the bridge for Irish music. So the bridge goes two ways, which I think is great.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
It's sowing the seeds, and if you can give exposure to great art, man, you're blessed for it, really, in many ways. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to get into another song. We'll keep it a secret, so people come right. Yeah, well, you got to have a little mystery, And we'll be right back. Are you a singer-songwriter who wants to take your music to the next level, and you need some professional musicians and really that expertise to help you along? Well, check out Melts in Your Ears Studio. It's Mike Nugent's studio. If you like what you've heard here today, Mike's the guy who can make the connections, put the tracks together, and give you a quality product. Check it out. Welcome back, everybody. Steve Yusko here, your host. I'm with Andy Cooney, and I think we're having a good time, aren't we, Andy?
I am. I was going to say, are we having fun yet? But not at all. Not at all, Steve. This has been really enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to jump into, tell us about the next song that we're going to put out there for our audience, and tell me a little bit about the album. I understand your son Ryan plays on the album, so I'm really interested.
Well, my son Ryan, we wrote a song during the pandemic called "We're All in This Together." What can I say? I was lying in bed, and every time he turned the TV on, it was "We're all in this together. We're all in this together." And I said, "The hell with it! I'm writing a song." So the lyrics are, "We're all in this together. Together we are one. Mm-hmm. We know that it won't last forever if we're all in this together." So that's the chorus. And then I had written the first verse, and I was down at the piano working it out, and Ryan came over and said, "I like that." And then he just started coming out with the second verse.
Oh, nice.
Ryan's a nice little songwriter. So we recorded it together. He's a very talented singer. He's kind of like a Stevie Wonder kind of.
Really?
kind of singer, real R&B kind of singer. There's a video on YouTube. You have to check it out, and you can see him and hear just how talented he is.
Well, what I always do with my podcast, anything that we mention and the people we mention, I do chapter breakouts with links to all these things so people can find out more information. Those are stationary, look at their phone.
Yeah, definitely. If you could share that link, people will enjoy it.
Happy to do so.
But this song that you're going to play, it's called "Take Me Back to Dublin," where I fell in love. So this was the first thing that I had written, during the pandemic. I was trying to get back into songwriting. I got to do something here. So
sure.
So I had the idea for this song, and I had written it. Came to the second verse. I was trying to open up the second verse, and I'm saying to my wife Susanna, I said, "You lived in Dublin." I said, "Give me some stuff." She says, "Well, we always used to meet at that big clock at Cleary Shopping, center on O'Connell Street, and from there you can cross the bridge and you'll be in Temple Bar and all those great places in Dublin." And I said, "Well, that's perfect." So the second verse opens up with pretty much beneath the clock at Cleary's on O'Connell Street we'd meet. From there we'd cross the bridge holding hands on Grafton Street. We laughed and sang in Temple Bar, and from there it's not too far. It's there I stole a kiss from you underneath the Irish stars.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. So it was just, it set up the second verse perfectly, and the song just happened. And I have to give another writer credit on there. His name is Jeffrey Teague. He's a Nashville writer and somebody I do a lot of stuff with down in Nashville. Great assistance to me with the New York Tenors. He's a super guy. He used to be the head of Word Records.
Oh, okay.
Christian label in Nashville. So I had written this song, and he heard a couple of lines. So he did changed a couple of lines for me. So he has a credit on the song as well. Jeffrey
Very
T.
good. All right. And here it is. Take Me Back to Dublin. Enjoy.
Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Some folks when they fall in love, they'll take a flight to Spain or walk the streets of London in the sweet soft summer rain. In Paris, love fills the air, you can lose your place in time. Now I'm coming back to where you are and leaving all behind. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. It's there that I met you, and it's you I'm dreaming of. I can't believe I left the one God sent from up above. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Beneath the clock at Cleary's on O'Connell Street we'd meet. From there we crossed the bridge, holding hands on Grafton Street. We laughed and sang in Temple Bar, we didn't need to go too far. Then from you I stole a kiss underneath the Irish stars. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. It's there that I met you, and it's you I'm dreaming of. I can't believe I left the one God sent from up above. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Oh, I held you on Portmarnock Beach in the evening time. We continued up the road of peace to lovely Malahide. As long as I'm with you and you are there with me, there's no other place in world I'd rather be. Oh, take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love. Take me back to Dublin where I fell in love.
Hey, I tell you, Andy, that was a great song. It really nice. What I really like the way you explain the lyrics is those people who know Dublin, and you pull out these little things, these little memories that they can reminisce and connect to the song immediately. I could just see a husband looking at a wife going, "Oh yeah, I met you under that clock." Or
And another favorite part of that song is the bridge. And I was just thinking about places I've been to in Dublin that I know pretty well. And as you get down to Port Marnock, right on the bay, Dublin Bay, it's just absolutely gorgeous there. So the bridges, I held you in the evening. I'll forget it. It's not coming to me now. But the bridge. Bridge is one of my favorite parts of the song.
nice.
I held you. I have it. Oh, I held you on Port Marnock Beach in the evening time, and continued up the road a piece to lovely Malahide. As long as I'm with you, and you are here with me, there's nowhere other place in the world I'd rather be. So, it's just a nice little bridge, but it really ties the whole thing together.
Nice, very nice. So you've got a show coming up here on March 12th, right in my hometown of Babylon Village.
Are you kidding? What a great! I love that town. Great
Yeah,
restaurants, everything.
Yeah, Babylon's one of those towns that survived the 70s when they built all the malls, and it still thrived, and
My attorney had an old building. He's passed on now. You might have met him before. Right across from the post office and next to that diner or diner looking place on Merrick Road. His name was Kevin Patrick Brosnahan.
okay.
And he had that old building. He was my lawyer for many years. He was also a freelance scout for the New York Yankees.
Oh wow.
And did lots of baseball contracts and everything. And he was quite a character in the Babylon area. There's a lot of people that did know him. So
Yeah, we've got a lot of characters, and so hopefully too many of the crazy characters don't go to see your show, but I'm sure you're going to.
Oh, I hope they come. You kidding?
No, you're. Look, I know you're going to fill that theater. I know my mother-in-law is going to be there with her gang. So it's a great time. It's a great theater, by the way, that was taken over by a father and son team from Merrick, if I'm correct. And it was an old movie theater, or a movie theater that was broken up.
They did a beautiful job, and the shows they're producing are fabulous. We went to see Legally Blonde there, and I said, all right, well, I saw the movie, so
Right.
how could this be? A musical? I couldn't even imagine that. And I have to tell you, we had a ball, and the
Nice.
people were so talented. So I mean, you are seeing a top class, top talent, top production. Anything that they put on over there. So
And they survived COVID, which
they did, yeah.
which could not have been easy. So that's coming up on March 12th. Andy, tell me about the other events, because you're way booked. Tell me the other events that you have coming up. I know
things are just starting to come together. I'm doing an Irish festival up in East Orham, New York.
Mhm.
Not like I have enough to do organizing all this stuff. They've asked me to organize the East Orham Irish Festival. So
Wow.
now I'm wearing my business cap and performing cap. And so that'll be Memorial Day weekend in the Northern Catskill Mountains. And so that's the next big thing coming up. And then, of course, Carnegie Hall, December the 12th. One thing I did this year, we're doing it again next year. And I did it about 3 times at the Long Island Marriott. And it was New Year's Eve.
Ah,
And what it is for this year's package was for $239. You got the room, you got the meal, open bar, our band, of course, that New Year's Eve, we play mostly dance music.
Sure.
And have a different program from what we would do, at the Argyle. And we ended up with 200 people this year. We had 350, and of course, again, the CDC. And,
right. You had the limitations. Yeah.
And then if you turned on the TV, it was like 40,000 people will die in 3 weeks. It's like, but we ended up with 200. We were very happy. So next year, I think we're going to be up to about 350, 400. So,
absolutely. I think there's that backlog, and people really enjoy the entertainment that you bring. Yeah. So I got to tell you, I really want to thank you. You are definitely part of the Long Island Sound. There are over 7 million, I think close to 8 million people here on Long Island, and 99% of them become Irish in the next couple of weeks, including myself. So this is really timely. I look forward. I'd love to have you back again. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we can discuss, and your stories are great. And I think you have some great insight, even for those new singer-songwriters, of how to put your nose to the grindstone and make it work, because it's not easy. There's a lot of work behind the scenes.
There is. And, all I can say is that, we all have our own journeys in the music business. Mm-hmm. Some people go out and get big record deals. But I've kind of navigated my way through the business, and I've been able to make a few bucks at it, thank God. And I love what I do. And I hope I can just continue to do it as long as I can.
That's part of it. A good friend of mine named Bob Murray, a nice Irish fella from Garden City. And I always leave with these words at the end of the podcast. We can always account for what's in our bank account, the things that we own. What we can never account for is how much time we have. And so the time that you've given me today is precious to me, and I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Steve, and all your podcast listeners. And come over to the dark side, to the Andy Cooney's New York Irish Hour.
Absolutely. I'll have to learn a couple of Irish tunes, and I'll be a guest.
There you go.
All right. Till next time, this is the Long Island Sound, and thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment, and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, and comment on the show. We really love to hear from you. And call our listener line at 631-800-3579. Again, thanks so much. Be well.